Well, great. Hey, awesome. It is so nice to connect with all of you today. I can't believe, I'm just looking at the date today, and I can't believe it's been 10 years, 10 years since I graduated from Utah State. And so it's been a wild ride the last 10 years, but Utah State set me up for success, gave me the tools and confidence that I needed to go out into the world. And I'm just so excited for you guys. It's been fun to see all the Aggies come back onto campus over the last couple weeks. And it's a strange time for you with COVID and everything going on, but I am so excited for what you guys have in store over the next few years of your college experience. So a little bit about me, like John mentioned, I'm an alum of Utah State and the Huntsman School of Business. I've worked in banking and I've worked in consumer goods. So I've had a few different jobs in my career, and I've come back to banking as well. I kind of an untraditional path to come into commercial banking, but I got my MBA from Harvard and had a chance to come back to Logan, and I jumped at it. So why did I come back here, and why did I choose community banking or commercial banking? I want to talk to you guys a little bit about commercial banking as an industry and give you some insight into what it looks like and why I think it's a great career option and kind of why I landed here. So commercial banking is, you can think of it like Main Street banking. So we, as a commercial bank, our business model is to basically take deposits from people and then turn around and lend them out to other people. And we are getting deposits and lending money to people that we interact with on a daily basis. So as you guys are here in Logan and driving down Main Street and kind of walking around campus and you see businesses there, there's a good chance that that Cache Valley Bank or another bank like ours is acting as a place for them to store their deposits, and that bank is also lending money to them. So as a commercial bank, how do we do that? We do that by going out and building relationships with people. And so we connect with our customers through phone calls and video conferences right now, but in a normal day, we go out and connect with them in person as well, or they'll come into our office. And that's one thing we're always trying to do, is build relationships with customers around the community we're in. As we build those relationships, we work with them to help them grow their business. And so we do typically analyze, as they come in, we look at their financials, we look at their performance, how they're doing, and we'll help them make decisions that will improve their performance. And we also help them figure out how they can use debt to increase their business and put them in a better position. So just kind of a day in a life, I'll give you guys an example of kind of what I do on a daily basis. So over the last year, we've been working with a local coffee roaster, and here are some of the things we've done for them in the last 12 months. First thing we did was help them transition the ownership. So there was someone who owned that business for a long time, and she was ready to retire. So she sold the business to a new owner here locally, and we helped them arrange the financing they needed to make that sale. A few months ago, during the COVID crisis, when everybody was applying for payroll protection loans, we helped that business secure a PPP loan so that they could continue to pay their employees and keep their business afloat. Recently, as things have improved, their capacity so they roast coffee, their capacity has gotten really tight, and so they've needed to expand. And so now I'm working with them to go out and help them purchase land and construct a new building to help them increase their roasting capacity. And so that's an example of what I do as a commercial, or what we do as a commercial bank. And so it's fun because these are people I get to interact with on a daily basis. I run into them in the community, at church, in my neighborhood, and it's fun from that standpoint. So something, as you think about commercial banking as a career, I would say some of the benefits are great work-life balance. You're typically in the office between 8 and 9, and you're typically done between 5 and 6 every day, and you get weekends off. And that sounds funny to say, but in finance, that's not always a given that you'll have weekends off. So that's one thing that's great about a career in banking. I would tell you, it's typically not as lucrative starting out as some of the other careers in, as like investment banking or private equity or venture capital, some of those other things that you'll hear about today. But that doesn't mean it can't be lucrative over the long term. So those are just some of the trade-offs that you'll make as you're thinking about it as a career. Another thing that I like about banking is that there are a lot of different components of business that you get to think about. So we spend a lot of time thinking about finance. We spend a lot of time thinking about interest rates, macroeconomic trends, real estate prices, anything finance related, we're thinking about that all the time. We also get to think about marketing, how we present ourselves as a brand, how we present ourselves to our customers, how to draw in new business. So that's also fun. We think a lot about operations. How can we be more efficient at getting our customers the things that they need? Accounting fits in there as well. Accounting is an integral part of what we do. And so there are a lot of aspects within banking itself that we touch. And I think that that's another thing that's fun about it. Something else that I like about banking is that there's a lot of connections with politics. Banks are heavily regulated. That's because the government gives us insurance on our deposits. That's what makes sure let's say you have your deposits in a bank, your checking and savings account, that insurance is what keeps you from ever losing that money. And because we're insured, the government regulates us pretty heavily. And that means that, we get to be involved in the political world as well. So, on a regular basis, we're talking with our local lawmakers, and we're also talking with our state lawmakers and talking with them about, new legislation that they're working on and how that's going to influence the bank. And we're watching the legislative process a lot too. So that's something else that's fun that you get with in a commercial banking setting. Let's see, I'm trying to think if there are any other notes I had. So I would say from a high level, those are kind of the main things that I wanted to cover about commercial banking. And I'll open it up to you guys for questions.
Go right ahead, unmute yourselves, guys, and ask a question.
Okay. Thank you, Craig, for meeting with us today and for giving us that information. That's really valuable. You said that you graduated and you came back to Logan. What brought you back to Logan? Was it the salary, people? Were you just familiar with the area? What opportunities did you see here? And what opportunities do you foresee in the Logan area and then commercial banking as an industry?
Sure. Yeah, great question. So for me, what brought me back to Logan? I'm from Logan originally, and my family's growing. So from a personal side, that it was a unique opportunity to be back in Logan. From a banking standpoint, Cache Valley Bank we're a smaller regional bank, but we're growing, and so there was an opportunity here to be part of a smaller bank, to play a bigger role in a smaller bank. And so that was an exciting opportunity for me. Economically, what do I see happening in Logan over the next, in the future? Well, one thing that's unique about Utah is we live in valleys, and valleys have limits to them. So what we're seeing is as the Salt Lake Valley and Utah Valley start to fill up, there's more and more commerce and more residential homes that start to be built further up north. So I think in Utah and then Logan specifically, I think we're going to continue to see a lot of economic growth. COVID has pushed a lot of people out of states like California and New York into less populated areas like Utah. So I think we're going to continue to see a lot of growth from that. And as they move here, they'll bring businesses and they'll bring opportunities. And so I think that will impact Logan like it will impact the whole state. So I think I'm long on Utah. I think that we've got a bright future. We've got a well-managed state government. We've got well-managed community governments. We've got demographic trends in our favor. And so I think there's a bright future for Utah. I'm excited for it. And I think, for people interested in staying in Utah, I think there's a lot of future opportunity here for you. Great question, Wayne.
Hey, Craig, it's Mike Hatfield. Can you hear me?
I sure can. How you doing?
Hey, so good. It's good to see you again. I was just going to ask, when we met over a year ago after you got your MBA, you were a loan officer. Is that correct?
Yep.
And then I was just wondering, what opportunities did you take advantage of to build yourself up within Cache Valley Bank?
Yeah, that's a great question. So let me talk about the career path a little bit. So typically, when you're starting out in banking, there are different areas that you can target. So like I mentioned, you could go work in a bank as an accountant. You could go work at a bank in marketing or on the operations side. The core function of banking is lending and relationship building. And so let's assume you were to go down that core path. What it would typically look like is you would start out as a credit analyst. So as loan officers, or sometimes they're called relationship managers, will go out and connect with customers and introduce them to the bank. They'll get a financial package from the customer, and they'll take that and they'll hand that off to their credit analyst. And the credit analyst will go through, they'll run the numbers, and they'll help the loan officer determine if that customer has capacity to take on more debt, or the bank is in a position to help that customer refinance their debt. So that credit analyst position is kind of the first position that you would come into coming out of your undergrad. The next step up from there is typically to move into a relationship or loan officer position, where you go from just underwriting or analyzing the loans to now going out and meeting with customers. And from the relationship manager role, there's two options. One, a lot of people will just stay as a loan officer for their entire lives. It can be a satisfying career. You're typically making a salary, and you're typically making bonuses on that salary. And so there are a lot of people that will just stay in that position for their entire lives, and it's a satisfying career. If you're interested in doing more, then what typically happens in larger banks is you would move from a loan officer into sort of a market manager position, where you're managing a group of loan officers. And then from that position, you might move into more of a corporate role, where you might be working as a chief credit officer, where on the bigger loans that come in that need to have higher approvals because they're large loans, a chief credit officer is going to go through and help look through those loans. A chief credit officer is also going to help set loan policy and say what type of loans the bank will and won't do. You could move into an operations role, where you're helping to make decisions on the operational side, or the finance role, or ultimately the CEO or president role, where you're helping steer the whole ship. That's kind of what a career path would look like in banking. Really good question.
Thanks, Craig.
We've got time for one more.
And I can do a song and dance too if you guys would like.
Yes, please.
I didn't think anyone would take me up on it.
Greg, can you hear me?
All right. I sure can.
Great. So I asked you a question just in the chat, but as being a big leader for your company and of course, having a good hold on banking industry, I'm asking you, what do you do specifically, or what do you recommend for students to read or listen to keep up on the conversational savvy part of banking, so that when they go into interviews, they feel more prepared to more or less relate to their interviewer?
Yeah, really good question. So I think generally, what I would do is get a subscription to a large national paper like the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times, and stay abreast of the topics that it's covering. There's always a finance section that you can use, and reading through that is going to keep you up to speed on what's happening in the finance industry specifically. Aside from that, I'm trying to think if there are podcasts that I listen to. Planet Money is an interesting podcast that NPR puts out that they'll talk about financial and economic topics. I think that's really interesting to stay abreast of. A podcast that I really like is called Econ Talk, and that's by a guy named Russ Roberts out of Stanford's Hoover Institute. He brings on different speakers, and he talks about economic subjects. So I think those are some of the things that are helpful for kind of a broader international perspective. I think The Economist is a great magazine to stay on top of. To get really, to get more specific into financial topics, I think that reading, actually going on and listening to earnings calls for some of the larger banks can be a really interesting way to stay abreast of what's going on. So if you Google Jpmorgan Chase earnings call, you can usually pull up the last year of earnings calls that they've had, where they sit down and they talk to their investors about what's going on. And I think that Jamie Dimon, he's the CEO of Jpmorgan Chase. He's a guy who's kind of like, in a lot of ways, the unofficial spokesperson for the banking industry. And I think listening to him and listening to what he says is a fascinating way to stay abreast of what the current hot topics are for banks. So those are some of the things that I would do. Really good question, Luke.
Thank you. Thank you for answering that.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I'm actually going to ask, if you wouldn't mind, Craig, staying on. Erin, our next guest, there's some issues, and I'm trying to get a hold of her. We're trying to still get her to join on. So, Craig, would you mind sticking on for just a little bit longer?
Nope, not one bit.
Because I've got a question just kind of kick it off to the next step. So you've talked a little bit about the career path, and you've talked high level about what it's like in a day in the life. What are some things that you would do to advise students at this point in their career generally on ways that they can be exploratory, not just for your specific industry, but in this point in their careers in general? What are some things that you wish you had done, some things that were beneficial, that kind of thing?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question, John. So what I discovered late in my college career is the power of networking. And networking, I think, when you say that word, I think it has different connotations. For some people, it's scary. For some people, they don't understand it, or they've never heard of it. But what networking means to me is reaching out and talking to people that you find interesting. So one of the things that I learned how to do is, when I was interested in a career, I went on LinkedIn, and let's say it was a company that I was interested in. I would search for that company, and then I would see who I knew that worked in that company. And if I didn't know anyone who worked in that company, I would, as I got a little braver, I would reach out to maybe a second connection to see if they could help introduce me. But typically what I would do is I'd reach out to people and I'd say, hey, I'm really interested in the type of work you're doing and want to find out more about it. Could I spend 15 minutes on a quick phone call with you? And I was surprised at how willing people were to respond. I think it comes from two things. I think, one, people love to talk about themselves, and two, people are genuinely helpful. And I just didn't understand. I just didn't understand how it worked when I was in college. But people really want to help you. When I look at my career, I've had a lot of people just offer their time and service for me, and because of that, I love it when I have the opportunity to do that for other people. So I would say, if there's a career that's interesting to you, read about it, Google about it. Those things are all helpful. But then if you can, find somebody who works in that career that you can connect with and sit down and talk to them about it, because that's how you're going to get the best exposure to what a career would look like in the area you're interested in. The other benefit that has is they, all of a sudden you become part of their network. And so as they're looking to hire down the road, and as they're looking for bright young talent, they're going to remember you, and they're going to remember that you took the initiative to reach out to them. And that's meaningful for people. Having a personal connection is huge as you're looking to hire and as you're looking to bring in new talent. And so it has the dual benefit of, one, giving you firsthand experience or a firsthand idea of what the career looks like, and two, gives you a foot in the door in case there's ever any hiring that's going to happen. So I would say take advantage of those opportunities. As people come into the school, find a way to reach out to them and talk with them if you're interested in their job. And if no one ever comes to talk to you, for the job or company that you're interested in, go out on LinkedIn and see if you can find someone who works in the area that you're interested in and connect with them. And I guess that goes without saying, but create a LinkedIn account if you don't have one. I find it to be the most helpful social network out there.
Craig, on that note, our next guest is here, and I want to give you a shout out. We've actually put your contact information in the chat, including your LinkedIn. So everyone go connect with Craig right now and get started with that. Craig, thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here with us today.
You bet. Thank you guys. Take care. Have a great Friday.